Hello, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is May 10th, 2025. I guess I'm feeling like doing a lesson plan video for you. I hadn't done one really this year. Got plenty from previous years. The topic today is reference class forecasting, ADP 2019 to 2024. So we're going to compare preseason ADP to end of season finish for each player from a position. Fantasy points per game is what we will look at. And you're probably saying, what is reference class forecasting? I've done some video lessons previously in my 400 or 500 lessons that are out there. Go visit them. I go into more detail. This is from Wikipedia. It's a method of predicting the future, looking at past situations and outcomes. And it goes into where this came from. Kahneman and Tversky won the Nobel Prize in behavioral economics. It can help us predict the outcome of action based on past outcomes. So, I've never seen this done out there on Twitter. It needs to be done. People talk about it, but this is a way to kind of zero in on it. This is the way I'm going to do it, and you can check it out later. The method, I will gather the preseason top 36 players, ADP for each position. I will then compare them, divide them into three segments. The top 12, green. Next 12, 13th, 24th, orange. Next 12, 25th to 36th. And then out of the top 36. And I will compare the preseason ADP to the postseason or end of the season EOS fantasy points per game. So how good is the ADP for us to draft by? Something you need to know. I gave you a hint, it's not perfect. If it was perfect, then everybody would just do that, right? Right. And then I'll look at success and failures, look at percentages, maybe a graph or two. We'll see. So let's do quarterbacks in this lesson here. And I'm just going to stroll through, and I'll have the images for you up on the Science of Fantasy Football. But this was 2019. The ADP, the player, the position, the positional rank. That's my dog going crazy. The average ADP. And then the sector it's in, green, orange, yellow, GOY. And then I look at the player, okay, and the end of the season, EOS fantasy points per game, so I list that, and the fantasy points per game sector, okay, and you can see how they did. If it was perfect, then the EOS would be all green, then orange, then yellow, and you can see that's not the case, and there's some W's, which is out of the money. And then here are the players I missed here. Now, I mean, I didn't miss, but ADP missed. I believe I got this from Fantasy Pros, their ADP, or maybe Fantasy Calculator. It's fairly close. You can check this out. So this was 2019. Here is 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24 last year, right? Wasn't perfect, wasn't bad, but it wasn't perfect. But you can see the worst of the top 12 was Stroud here. He was very sad, right? 32nd. Drafted, what was he drafted? 5th, and he was 32nd. Rutrow. There's some other sad cases as well. Mahomes was the second, and yet he finished 13th. So those some of those choices you had to work hard to overcome. The best fantasy point guy was Sam Darnold. He was 30th, I guess, and he finished 10th. And again, I didn't look at games played total of the season. I just did fantasy points per game. I drafted a lot of Baker Mayfield. He was third best at the end of the season, but he was 22nd. Bo Nix was 23rd, and he was 12th. So you did well there. Goff was pretty good as well. He was 9th, but he was 15th preseason. So there are bargains to be had, but there are landmines as well. So anyway, it gives you an idea of expectations. And you've got to have expectations for you to go into your draft. You need to know how deep is the minefield, right? Does this position, the ADP, is it pretty accurate or not? And you need to know that. And if you don't know that, then you could be tricked and bamboozled, and you don't need to be. So this chart here, look at preseason ADP, GOY, quarterback, and end of season finished here, and I actually just kind of a simple count here. So the greens, right, over the 19 to 2024, 72 total that were in the top 12, 42 of the 72 finished in the top 12, right? 63 finished in the top 24. So if you convert by percent, it's 58% and 29%. So overall, a green top 12 quarterback should be expected to be out only 3% and 25th or worse, 10%. So not bad for the top 24, and green is roughly 60th percent. So 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 12-ish. So that means what? There's 5 sucker bets in the top 12, rut row. So right away, that is something you need to consider going in. You know, it's not perfect by any means. And so everybody's going to tell you who their correct picks are. They're going to try to spot the 7 good and the 5 bad, right? So, I mean, that's, I guess, what you pay money for people or whatever you do. But to me, I like to know what's what and where's where. If I'm a super flex player, I might look at the next 12 and I see about 54. So half of those guys are going to be in the top 24. So right here you got about 87%, and here is 50. So it gets a little tougher here. And if you wait too late and you're drawing 25th, 36, 29% are going to be in the top 24. So, you know, you got your work cut out for you in Superflex trying to pick those. But now you kind of know the figures, and you should allows you to prepare accordingly. To me, when I draft, I like to know kind of the fear factor. I like to be pessimistic. And again, I don't like fast drafts. I like slow drafts. I like hours to pick and consider and think. And it's good to kind of do some deeper thinking, and I would suggest you do that. But definitely, this is the beginning. Here is what do you what's gone on in the past for you here. And let's see, I think. Oh, that's right. So I've actually done fantasy points per game, reference class forecasting. Not, you haven't seen that data, but about 76%. The top 12 finish in the top 24, and ADP it's 87%. So if you look at the fantasy points per game from last year, previous year versus this year, it's actually a little bit worse than the ADP. So, in other words, if you're thinking, well, I'll just look at last year's fantasy points per game, not this year's ADP, well, it doesn't give you an advantage necessarily. Okay. If you look at who's in the top 12 last year in fantasy points, and of those top 12, who are also in the top 12 ADP. So it's kind of the green slice, right? The double slice there. That would be, and I haven't figured that data, I just don't have time or hadn't had time yet to do that. I got so many fish to fry and so little time to do it. But there it is. That would be where I would look and start, right? Compare those two here. And look at your fantasy diary. Just how good are you, right? If you've never done it, try this year. Who are your top 12? What did they actually finish? Can you beat fantasy points per game? Can you beat the public? Are you as good as the crowd? Okay, you need to know that information, and that's part of your diary. And again, they don't, when I say they, the experts, in quotes, don't give you these kind of lines in the sand for you to work on. So I think as AI comes in and a lot of more data and data people are attracted to fantasy football, it's going to be harder to find that edge because a lot of stats are out there. So I think the edge becomes handicapping yourself. And that cannot be done by the crowd, right? That's something you do for yourself. How good are you at certain positions and situations? Are you good at rookies, quarterbacks, or not? You need to know that. So I would urge you to start your fantasy diary. I've got a video lesson on that for you to check out as well. Let's see what else. Maybe I should show you my website. Should I show you my website? Let's see. Have I even got my website? Let's see. Here it is. Okay, coming up here. Here it is. It's dashboard. Oh, it is my dashboard. So this is my YouTube channel. Only 41 people subscribe, so I don't care. Okay, in some ways, the less people that know, the better my odds are. And of course, I do not play under my Professor Fantasy handle, so I don't want you to know I'm out there. And you can look at what people have done, and overall, it's not a lot of people subscribe, and that's fine. The few that are listening, thank you. Dennis and I do our podcast every week. You can check that out, our Science of Fantasy Football podcast. Anyway, getting back to the fantasy reference class forecasting, and you're saying, well, what about the top 6, the next 6, and so forth? So I did. I broke the ADP into 6s and looked at the different years and looked at the finish, right? And I've got this data here. You can look at that. and you can see what's what, where's where, and I graphed that. And if you look at the graph, I just looked at the green and the orange. So the top 24 here in this bar graph, and this is from 2019 to 24, and this is 3 out of 6. Okay, so you predict preseason, and then what did you finish after the end of the season? Anything above 3 is you're beating 50%. And of course, the top 6 many years have been. One year, I guess 2020, was perfect. Okay, your top 6 was the top 6. I'm not saying the order. And then you can look that some years we had 5, but most years it's been 4, and last year was 3. Okay. Now, in the top 24, they wasn't too bad. Here's the 7th through 12th. Okay, you get a little bit worse. 13th through 18th gets a little bit worse, and it gets really lean down here, 25th and 31st through 30th. Boy, you're drawing dead in here. And so I have this number here in the top 6. If they were green, 72% over 2019 to 24 came in the top 6. So not bad. You probably would predict that. Was that 91% of the top 6 were finished in the top 24 at the end of the season. 7 through 12, it drops almost half, 44%. Drops again, 13th through 18th. So if you look at your diary, can you beat these numbers? Okay, that should be your goal, to at least be as good as the crowd, or actually a little bit better. Okay, so I mean, if you can pick the top 6 that are in the 25th to 30th, or 31st through 36, which has happened 3 times, right, in the last, 6 years? If you're that good, maybe even, I guess, 10, 19th through 36, 10. If you can draw in there, then you're damn good, and you can probably make yourself some money and win some leagues if you can find those rare quarterbacks that are underlooked. People talk about sleepers. They can consistently, year by year, draw in these after the 18th quarterback by ADP. If they can draw in, the top, 10 of those in the top 6 or the top 12, they're doing damn good. And I would recommend and suggest, and this is what's interesting, 13th through 18 is 9, 19th through 24th is 7. So it seems to me, if you're in Superflex and whatnot, that this is telling you that you might look in this block, because it's almost as good as this. So people are fishing over here. This block here is as good as that, and you get probably another round or 2 fishing for quarterbacks here. So if I was a Superflex player, I would be looking hard into this block of quarterbacks by this year's ADP. And again, this ADP was something like late August, right? So, things are not set in May here. But that's jumped out to me, and I suggest you look at these figures and figure out where to play and how to do it here. I thought that was really interesting. Now, the downside is in this block right here, 7 are deep and losers, and 14. So the risk is much higher, obviously, here, but the rewards right here are as good as here. So this looks like you're probably Look at that, almost double here, 15 in the 13th through 24th, right here, picking in this. So most likely you're picking here, but I'm saying you can do as good as this. I think that is your advantage, folks, and I've never seen anybody discuss that before, but here it is, free of charge. But that's where I would fish if I was a Superflex player. And if I think I've got to have a Superflex, you need one of the top 6. So if you're drawing and in the 7th to 12th, I mean, you're almost stuck here. But, if it was me, I would draw, if I got in the top 6, I would draw one of the quarterbacks and then wait and try to get my second quarterback deep here. I would hate to be in the 7th through 12th. People say, oh, I can win from any. Well, this means on average, if you didn't just follow blindly ADP, you have to make up this difference here. So it is, you better be damn good if you say you can beat you at draft position here. So I would look at these metrics and really see what it tells me. It's very interesting here. This is 14th and this is 15th here, but it's later in picking. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff to get out of this data, especially when I split the 12ths into 6s here. A lot of fun data for you guys, and I guess I will just throw this last data out, looking at just the visual. This is just the percentage, but here's the visual of the numbers here. And it can kind of tell you, and you can see 13th through 18th and 19th through 24th, the green slice is about the same. So I think that's where you can get an advantage in Superflex right there. Okay, that's enough for this lesson, 22 minutes of me running my mouth. I hope you enjoy it. I'll do running backs next, and then tight ends and wide receivers here in the video lessons. Okay, this is Dr. Bush for the Science of Fantasy Football, the process. Come back. We're having lots of fun here in May. Woo woo.